There are thousands of different religions that have come about in human history. What makes you think that yours is the right one? In fact, aren't you being a little arrogant in thinking that your worldview is true versus everybody else? This is the objection that I want to tackle today. This is one of the objections to Christianity that I've heard before, and so I wanted to make a video about it. So let's go ahead and pop on over to here in the good old Photoshop so I can give you guys a visual of what I'm talking about here. So firstly, I just want to lay out the actual objection itself over here. So, objection number 1. There are thousands of religions in human history. What makes you think yours is the right one? Now, on top of that, there's also the accusation of arrogance that could be stacked on top of that. It's not only that a person believes their worldview is the right one, but because of that, they're arrogant. So, before I even go into this objection and try to dig into what it really is about, I want to step back here and just encapsulate the emotion of an argument like this. In fact, I think that the only reason that this objection would be persuasive is by sheer emotion. If this is an argument against Christianity, I don't think it's a very good one at all. In fact, I don't think this is a good objection to any worldview. And I hope I could show you guys the reasons why, and I can articulate my thoughts correctly here. But yeah, before I go into the response to this actual objection, I want to go ahead and dig into the logic of this objection. And so I decided to type this into a bit of a syllogism, which is just basically a logical way of forming an argument. You type down one or more premises, and the conclusion must logically follow for the argument to have any kind of substance at all. So the argument, you could say, is typed like this. Premise 1. There are many interpretations of reality. What I mean by interpretation, by the way, is also religion. I think religions are at the bare minimum bone of it. They're just interpretations of reality. In fact, I think it'd be fair to say that atheism itself is an interpretation of reality. I know it's not a religion, I'm not here saying that, but it is an interpretation of reality just as much as any other worldviews such as religions. So yeah, premise 1, there are many interpretations of reality. Conclusion, therefore, Christianity is false. Do you guys see what I'm seeing here? Did you guys have a sense of something doesn't add up here? Something's not right here. If you have that sense, you're right on with me on this. This is actually what we would call a non sequitur, which is pretty much just one of the fallacies in an argument. But what it means is that the conclusion does not follow from the premises. Essentially, here we have one premise that there are many interpretations of reality. And so I just don't think that the conclusion follows at all from the premise itself. Just because there are many different interpretations of reality, that doesn't therefore debunk one of them like Christianity. In fact, if an atheist really wants to argue this, then we could very well use this logic right back at them. We could pretty much just say the same thing, saying, well, there are thousands of interpretations of reality in human history, so what makes you think that atheism is the right one? You guys see how this doesn't really get us anywhere when it comes to progress in trying to figure out the truth of reality. This is just not a very productive way to go about things. All it does is throw some confusion around by showing that there's many interpretations, and I don't think anything really follows from it other than there's multiple interpretations. But to show you guys what I'm talking about more, I want to give a thought experiment here. So let me go ahead and do some doodling here. You have 9 different individuals, 9 persons. They walk into a field. All right, so let me just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There we go. That's 9 people. They walk into a field and they all see the same thing. Now, as I'm drawing this, you probably already know what I'm drawing here. I'm not going to say the name right away, but one of them, actually all 9 of them, have different interpretations of what this object is. So one of them thinks that it's a car. So let me go ahead and draw that. One of them thinks it's a plank of wood. One of them thinks that it's actually another person. One of them thinks that it's a flower. That's my flower. One of them thinks that it's a cloud. One of them thinks that it is just a hallucination and it's not actually real, that we're not actually looking at something but a mere hallucination. One of them thinks that it's a cookie. One of them thinks that it is a tree. There we go. And one of them thinks that it's a phone. So let me just do that. That's gonna be my phone right there. But the point I'm trying to make with this is that you've got 9 different individuals all looking at the same object, and they're trying to figure out what it really is. So each of them walk in with 9 different interpretations. And so you find yourself coming on over here and saying, okay guys, I'm convinced that this is a tree. And so the other guy, one of them, comes up to you and says, well, hold on there, buddy. There are 9 different interpretations of this object. What makes you think that your interpretation is right? In fact, aren't you being a little arrogant in thinking that your interpretation is true and all of ours are false? You see how that doesn't really get us anywhere closer to the truth. In fact, what you could very well say in response to that is to say, well, no, I'm not arrogantly positing my worldview here out of sheer nothingness. I think there's good reasons to believe that this is true. And then you can start laying out evidence, like saying how we have stumbled into trees all our lives. We've recognized those as trees, and we see this object over here, and it looks exactly like a tree. It has all the same qualities as a tree, so it would be reasonable to say that it is a tree. And then you can even say another additional argument by saying that someone's car interpretation is false because, well, we know what cars look like, we know the qualities of a car, and we see this object here does not share any of the qualities of a car, so therefore it's reasonable to conclude that this isn't a car. So what you just had there is laying out evidence as to why your interpretation is true and why others are actually false. And it's not arrogant to say that. In fact, this gives us progress to truth. So I want to go back into the actual objection in of itself. Objection: there are thousands of religions in human history. What makes you think yours is the right one? Aren't you a little arrogant to think that yours is true? Talking about Christianity here. Here is my response to that. My response is this: we shouldn't care about how many different views there are. We should care about the evidence and where it points to. If we take a step back from just throwing ourselves in confusion that there's so many interpretations, and we simply ask ourselves, what is the evidence? Where does it point to? What can we make of this? I think we're going to make a lot more progress intellectually than throwing our hands in the air with this objection here. And actually, what this does, taking the evidence approach, is it does 2 things that I can think off the top of my head. Focusing on the evidence gives us progress in leading us to the truth. We are actually looking at valid evidence and arguments and trying to figure out which one of these interpretations are true, or at the very least, the closest to the truth about reality. The second bonus of this approach is that it dissolves the accusation of arrogance, because the reason that someone's holding to a worldview isn't because they have a sense of pride of, I'm right and you're wrong. No, it's a sense of, I recognize that this evidence leads to this worldview, so I'm going to believe in that one. And if you recognize it too, I'm sure you would believe in that worldview as well. So taking this evidential approach is going to dissolve the arrogance, and it's actually going to give us progress to the truth. And I think we should take this into account when it comes to the question of which interpretation of reality is true. Is Christianity true? Is atheism true? Is any other religion true? Well, let's look at the evidence and figure out where it points us to. And let's try to get to the truth there. And this is actually one of the biggest reasons why I am a Christian versus any other worldview, is because I'm convinced that the evidence overwhelmingly leads to the existence of God and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, that God does exist and he raised Jesus from the dead. Well, if those 2 things are true, then that gives us really good reason to believe in Christianity. So that's why I am a Christian. That's one of the big reasons why I'm a Christian. And I say we should all take this objection here and just not be very persuaded by it at all. I don't think this is a good objection at all to Christianity. I don't think it's a good objection to any worldview, including atheism, meaning I'm not going to take this argument and flip it on atheism. Like, I'm not going to use this at all as an argument because I don't think it's a good one for anything. But yeah, I just wanted to throw my thoughts here. Let me go ahead and tab back over here. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope that I was able to articulate my thoughts correctly to you guys in a way that you can understand where I'm coming from here. This is just one of the arguments that I've heard against Christianity, and I just am not convinced that it's a very good one at all. And hopefully I laid out the logic to that so you can understand what I'm understanding here. But yeah, that's all for now. I'll see you guys in the next one.